Hello students, today we are going to discuss on information sources which is secondary in nature. Secondary sources basically means whenever you are going to study or do any research based on some primary sources. So let us outline our today's discussion. Different information sources we are going to discuss, understanding how and which way secondary information sources helpful, then types of secondary sources and some examples I will be talking about. Now when you see that how information sources are categorized, you will find that secondary information sources comes under the documentary services. Under that, when you put it in the contents form, so secondary information sources are basically located there. So today's discussion will be mainly on different aspects of secondary information sources as well as types of information sources. Now what is secondary information sources? Secondary sources of information are mostly dependent on primary sources. Primary sources we are all aware of. Whenever you are doing any kind of original work, so those are primary sources. So when you are basically representing that primary documents in a condensed form or list them for some helpful way so that people can reach to that primary form, so then your secondary sources come into picture. Sources are of different nature and these sources are available both in printed and electronic form. Now when we categorize secondary sources, it is of index type, survey type, reference type and technical translation. How secondary sources help you in your everyday life? Secondary sources provide background information for your research. Whenever you want to carry out a research or any review you want to write or you want to write any proposal, so basically you need some documentation which are of original in nature, you need some evidences. So secondary sources provide you those evidences. Some examples are like searching or referring scholarly articles. You are referring scholarly articles for your own research. So basically what you are doing, you are studying some bibliography. So that is a secondary resources. Whenever you are looking for any kind of encyclopedia documents, that is a secondary resources. Basically secondary resource offer credibility to your research because evidence based documentation you are providing as part of the secondary sources. How secondary resources help have several other components as well. Secondary resource look beyond a particular event or artifacts and can broaden your perspective of research. For example, when you are writing an article, you are consulting maybe 20 books. Now when you are looking for a bibliography or searching Google, basically you are searching hundreds or thousands of documents. So basically your research perspective got enhanced. So that is how secondary sources helps you. It also provides you historical perspective. Today you are writing something based on some write up somebody has done in a diary form or in the form of a autobiography. So you are basically referring to that evidences, sociological, economic aspects. So basically you are referring to some original event or work studied earlier. So this is a historical perspective also can be brought forward during secondary resources study. Now earlier I told you that there are 4 types of secondary resources. The first one is of index type in nature. Index type secondary resources basically are scanning of primary resources, select the relevant term and arrange them in a helpful sequences for easy and quick retrieval. There are certain index type of secondary resources available like indexes, bibliographies, indexing and abstracting periodicals, current awareness services. Now what is an index? Whenever we read any book, So we must have noticed that at the end of the book we find some index, which are basically nothing but some keywords or terms, important terms, basically we put together in a alphabetical sequence so that one can reach to that particular page of books easily. Journal indexes are research aids that assist in finding articles available both online or in a printed form. Index helps to locate relevant subject areas quickly with the help of certain keywords. Indexes are also more comprehensive than full text journal database. How? Because any full text journal database can probably cover hundreds or thousands of journal, but basically an index of journals that covers many more thousands of journals together. It actually show it with some example to you. Online indexes can be searched with keywords help. Each index has some unique search features, and most indexes provide how to search kind of instruction. There are printed indexes also available. They are bringing out updation through supplement form. So again, keyword, title, author, abstract search kind of facilities are also available. Now this is an example of a journal index. As you can see, there are several journals are listed here with certain keyword and with certain numbers attached to it. Now this way an index journal can cover many thousands of database which an database of primary periodicals cannot cover. This is example of book index and author index as well. In book index you can say alphabetically A, B, C, D. Under A there are several categories and the page number is also mentioned there. So basically one can reach to that page and get hold of that particular discussion quite easily. In the author index you find at the end of the book or any kind of report, so you will find that authors are listed along with a page number. So on that page that author's discussion you can find, or rather write up you can find. So that is why index and author, both keyword index and author index help. Second type in this category is bibliography. Bibliography is basically a list of all sources used in the process of doing any research. Now with an example we will see how bibliography is helpful. Now bibliography essentially include name of authors, title of the works, sources. If it is from journal, then title, volume, issue, page, publishers of the journal. If it is a web resource, so then you have to have URL of the journal source. And if it is taken from a book, then the nature of documentation will differ. Also you will find published year and or the date if it is a newspaper kind of thing, references. Now in case of annotated bibliography, beside the information told to you earlier, so you will also find some bibliographic description of the documents as such. So it could be in the form of abstract, it could be in the form of quality or usefulness of the document as well. Now there lot of time we messed up between a bibliography and a reference list. Reference is basically only those items which you are actually cited in the paper, whereas bibliography is a list which you might have studied, not mandatorily you have referred in that particular write up what you are preparing. There are different type of bibliographies as well, like national bibliography, example Indian books in print. There you will find lot of list of books and who are the publisher and their brief details. Similar kind of thing you can find in Amazon as well. Trade bibliography, where book catalogs. Many of us have visited different book fair etc. and found that publishers have book catalogs ready-made available to them. Subject bibliography is something when a query is come to a librarian or a information professional, where they search the different documentation and find out what are the articles published on that particular subject. So that's how subject bibliography is very helpful to researcher or anybody who wants to know more about that particular topic. Now this is example of a bibliography. You can Note there that initially you are giving names of authors and followed by the different title of the books, followed by the URLs etc. given. You can see the publication year is also mentioned there. So this is an example of a typical bibliography. Indexing and abstracting periodical, if we are studying, so indexing periodical is best known as Index Medicus, which is a periodical. So this basically provide you the relevant items with full bibliographical details and selected from primary sources. Entries are arranged alphabetically with some subject heading and some class number. In this particular example, you can see that we have given class number, as well as under the class number you are finding the author name, details of the article titles and the sources and abstracts as well. The indexing periodical also provides author and subject indexes at the end. Abstracting periodical example is Tidy, which in Telegu we are publishing, but there are other kind of very well known abstracts like chemical abstracts, fuel science abstract and Indian science abstracts are very well known. Now these are all essentially specific subject wise abstracting periodicals. In abstracting periodicals, the contents of the selected items are summarized in the form of an abstract and along with their bibliographical details. For journals, you have to put the bibliographical details like name of the authors, then title of the articles, title of the journal, volume, issue, year, page numbers and so on. The abstract of articles helps one to reach to the main original article if required. Abstracting articles also provide author and subject indexes as well. Now this is typically an abstract. You can see that authors names are there and at the end of the line you can find the publication year, then the title of the article, then the abstract starts, and at the end of the abstracts you can find that number of references etc. mentioned there. Current awareness service, another type of service under this category where news clippings, recent arrivals, research in progress, these are discussed. Latest development in this particular field normally people provide, but remember this is not on demand. Normally we develop current awareness service as part of the predictable demand kind of thing. Second category of secondary resources is survey type of resources where highlight significant literature development on the subject, depict the progress of particular field of study, and you can find textbooks, monographs, reviews, critical reviews, state of the art treatises, all are coming under this part. Books, all of us know, that is basically collection of different thoughts, ideas put forward in the form of a book. Google has estimated that as on 2010 more than 13 books are published already, and most of the books are available e-book form also these days, and you can find books mostly on Amazon or Flipkart kind of thing. Monographs is a specialized work of writing on a single subject, essentially within a volume. Unlike textbooks, is basically provide the primary research and original kind of documentation. This research is presented at length, and that is how it is different from the article. Some examples of monographs are given, like you can see these things. Review or critical reviews are basically another part of secondary resources. Reviews like literature reviews we normally carry out while conducting a research study at the beginning of the research, where lots of articles are studied and a bibliographic details are formed along with abstracts, so that we can understand the evidences of that particular documentation. Critical review is a write-up of critical appraisal or publication in a journal, books kind of things. It studies, evaluate the original document formally with the intention of instituting changes if necessary. Like book review we write, movie reviews we conduct, and we can found in the everyday newspaper columns this thing. State of the art report is another kind of secondary resources in this category. Basic aim is to describe current and up-to-date status of a situation. Best known examples are SOE reports or the state of environment reports for different states of India. Treatises is a formal and systematic and authoritative piece of writing on a specific subject, and this is an advanced write-up. Treatises are normally followed by different scholars. So some example of treatises are here. Origin of species is the best known treatise available. Reference books is the third in the category of secondary sources. These reference books are the reference sources or the general on the general subjects. Following subject headings, contents are arranged in alphabetical order. Some examples are like dictionaries, encyclopedias, handbooks, etc. So that I will take in a detailed format with you. Biographical resources like Who's Who, biographical dictionary, all these are coming. Current reference sources like newspaper, radio, television, social media sources, all are type of secondary information sources under the reference category. Now if you see dictionary, we all are known well about the dictionaries. Modern dictionaries is basically not the meaning of language or the word only, it covers much more, way above than, like the pronunciation, like the grammatical levels, illustrative quotations, synonyms, antonyms, many more things are covered in today's dictionary. Most dictionaries are available online, one can search, many are of free in nature as well. Type of dictionaries, if you see that general language dictionary, subject dictionary, special purpose dictionary, and bilingual or multilingual dictionary. Now these are example of some dictionaries where you can see the Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary is a language dictionary, subject dictionary like science dictionary, or dictionary special purpose dictionary, you can find dictionary of idioms. In the Shabdkosh we have where English and Hindi translation kind of dictionary you can also find as a multilingual or bilingual dictionary category. Encyclopedia is a type of reference work or compendium holding a comprehensive summary of information available. It covers information from different sources and many a times available online. Articles in a standard encyclopedia are written by the subject specialist and then edited. So if you see that today's world we can find Wikipedia also. Now Wikipedia is growing very fast. 800 million yearly visitors we can find in Wikipedia, over 1 lakh active contributors, 284 languages covered, over 5.3 million English articles are available there. Encyclopedia, general encyclopedia are mostly the Encyclopedia Britannica. Science encyclopedia or engine related encyclopedia are subject encyclopedias examples. Handbooks and manuals are of special nature and specifically for the practitioners like engineers, technicians, like CRC handbooks of chemistry, physics, or the handbooks of thermoelectrics. So that kind of facilities are there. Handbooks of general nature is example is Guinness Book of World Records. In the manual section you can find basically the step-by-step instructional guide. For example, whenever you purchase any material or any equipment, you find a document how to operate that particular equipment, machine or maybe television, etc. So this is example of your manual. Geographical information sources like maps, atlas, globe, we all are aware of, but there are certain others like reference sources are also in this category, like thematic maps, GIS maps are also, which provide you specialized information. Gazetteers covers list names of geographical entities with their history, economic background and the people at different level on that particular country. Guidebooks are also in this category, which basically is a helping tool for tourists who wants to visit maybe in Delhi or so many other places. Some ready reference sources like directories are available. So yellow pages we all are knowing about. Basically directory provide you information about a person or a organization or some professional societies or some topographical informations. So there are several directories available like Yellow Pages, like Kotari Industrial Directory and so on. Almanacs and yearbooks are two different type of documents. Almanacs will provide you the schedule of events to be held within that year. Best known example is library events that will be held, or maybe the meetings are scheduled for the month. That kind of things are called almanac. Yearbooks is basically the details of events held in that particular year when summarized in the form of a document is basically yearbook. Statesman's yearbook is the most common example. Government publish lots of statistical information. In India, we found that there are major sources of all statistical data comes from government sources, like census data, like the data published by the Department of Statistics, like Central Statistical Office or CSO, or maybe the NSSO reports. So these are wonderful example of statistical information sources. So census reports 2011, every 10 years we get census report. So current one is 2011 census report, which is available online. Statistical abstracts, statistical pocketbook, statistical yearbooks, or maybe at the international level, United Nations statistical yearbooks are examples. The last part of secondary sources is the technical translation part. Here basically nothing is primary in nature, but actually you are providing a primary sources available into some other language available to users. Just for your help, I have converted one single line, I am studying BLIS, into 4 different languages. Now similarly, the entire books written by some, or some articles written by some researcher or maybe some intellectual personality is getting transformed into the form of a document. So example of 100 Years of Solitude by the Nobel Prize winner Gabriel Marquez, converted into the Hindi book. So this is an example of a translated books. Now with this, I want to summarize what exactly we have learned today. We have learned different types of information sources which are secondary in nature. They are not providing primary information, but basically guide you to how to source that primary literature if necessary. That helps you to your study, to your research, to find out evidences which was held in the past, maybe in the historical evidences as well, and that will help you to understand what has happened in the past, so that in future you can find out your own argument and put forward some new literary work. Thank you.